Welcome to the video. I'm going to be showing you guys a bit of a tour on the three Sega 8-bit forums that I use. I say 8-bit, they're all Master System focused or similar. So these are the three that I use. You can see the links there below, running along the bottom of the screen there, so do go and check them out. This is just going to be a quick tour. I don't want the video to be too long. I'm just going to show you what I've used over the last few years, and these have really helped me make new contacts, make new friends, absolutely, and also help me with completing my collection. So these are the websites, and they're great reference points as well. So there are forums that I use certainly on the first two. We'll get into Sega 8-bit first, or what's now SMS Tributes. I think the Sega 8-bit URL might have lapsed now, so you do need to now use smstributes.co.uk. Anyway, on here you can see things like the High Score Club, that if you're familiar with the Master System Challenge, this is what we use for the Christmas challenges. There's also some really good reference points. Let's have a look. So I'll go through it a little piece by piece, but I recommend that you check out all of these pages because there's some really interesting stuff in them. So in this page here under games, where you've got unreleased and rumored list, that's really helpful, and it helped me do one of my videos fairly recently on unreleased titles on the Master System. So there's loads of stuff that you can learn there for sure. There is also a rarity list here to help you with your collecting, which has really helped me, so you can understand what's really hard to find and what's not. And that's pretty useful for sure. So I definitely give that a little look if you're interested in collecting some of the harder to find stuff, which is quite useful. There is a little thing here which I found interesting a while ago, but this is just a section all about Alex Kidd in Miracle World 2. So the site is actually run and administered by Ian Wall. My buddy Ian is the guy that actually made Alex Kidd 2 using the Kid Ed software, and there's a little bit in there about that, and I think you can also download the ROM as well completely for free, so do give that a go if you get the chance. So there's also a few bits and pieces here about hardware. I quite like using the stuff around the peripherals here, so you can click into like foot pedals as an example, and it brings up all of the details about the foot pedals, where they were released, that sort of stuff. There's some other bits in there around like the light phaser, for example, although for whatever reason the picture hasn't actually, let's try it again. No, the picture's not populating. I don't know why, but there's some, like I say, there's some really interesting stuff. If we click further up and go on community, you can also get in the forum here, and this is what I use almost every day. So you can click on various different areas. You've also got a High Score Club in the forum here, which is what we use for the Master System Challenge. We use them for the leaderboards. So you can see last week we had Psycho Fox, and you've got the details there of who did what and how everybody's tracking. The week before was, of course, Road Rash, and you've got the leaderboard there as well. And these go right back, so you can go right back to when we did Aerial Assault as an example, and you've got all of the aerial assault results as well. So pretty cool. There's also, for the collectors that want to put stuff down, there's a little area down here for wants and trades, and mainly, I mean, you can see a few people have put stuff in there about stuff they want. I've put something in there about manuals that I'm after at the moment, that sort of thing. So yeah, pretty cool. And you've also then got a main area around the games up here, which again, people put different stuff in there about stuff they find in the games, when they find physical copies, that sort of stuff. And yeah, you've just got a load of other really cool little bits and pieces of areas. What I sometimes like to do is go way back when the forums were being used, because some of these forums are like 18, 20 years old, and you can find some really interesting posts from collectors back in the day. And sometimes they've shared pictures as well of stuff. So you can, like, again, I've put one in there when I bought a Mega SG. But if you go right back, you can go like back to, I don't know, page 36 back, and there's stuff going in there around like really old stuff that's been posted. Like, look at that 2005, that one around a Sega Mark III console. So yeah, so pretty cool. This is one of my favourites that I go on almost every day. You can send each other private messages on it as well, which is pretty useful. And yeah, I definitely recommend that you check this out. So moving on, this one is the SMS Power website. And again, I probably go on SMS Power almost every day. It's quite a nice user interface on the homepage here. And you can click into different stuff to check stuff out. It's pretty useful. If you click on games along the top here, what I sometimes do is you can check against your own lists that you're collecting against. So they've got like all sorts of different stuff that you can check on down here. But if you scroll to the bottom and click on, as an example, you can click on other stuff as well. They've got SG-1000. It's all of the Sega 8-bit stuff. But if you, for example, if you check on Master System Brazil and just wait for it to open up, there we go. And it will tell you all of the Brazilian releases. So it's got them all down there on every game that came out in Brazil. What I also, it's also got the North American ones, obviously. And one thing I've been using fairly recently is the Master System Mark III stuff in Japan, as an example, if you wanted to look at what had come out. And what I really like here is you can see what year they came out, which I find really interesting. And it also tells you on the far right when they were released, how much they cost. Now, I'm just a huge geek, as many of you will be more than well aware. But I really like to geek out and look at stuff like this. And it's got, like, as an example, it tells you like what the very last game out was and all that sort of stuff as well. So definitely go and check that out if you're into your Mark III. And then you've got your Master System European releases here. And it also, underneath that, goes into Germany and Italy specific releases, and Portugal as well, if you were interested in that. But this is one of the ones that I use for putting my list together of a full PAL set, as an example. And it's listed all of the games out. It's also got the little numbers just to the left there of what was on the spine, so you can check what number they were on the spine. It tells you the game, and sometimes it's got a little comment here. And you can actually click into these as well. And it will tell you a little bit around the game and where else it came out. It'll have some details there. And there's some data dumps here that you can click into to find out more about the game and give it a play, that sort of thing. Now, moving along, there are some scans along the top here. So you can click in as an example to a game on here, and you can, I don't know, if you click on Z, as it's the furthest to the right, and click on Zool. So if you've only got a cartridge, you can actually print yourself off a copy of the box art if you've got a blank box or whatever. It doesn't have all of them, and I would just stress that the quality isn't fantastic, and I'm kind of glad in a way, because we don't want people printing loads of these off and then passing them off as originals on eBay and stuff like that. So you can see, it's not super high resolution, and I'm pretty pleased that it's not. But you can have a look at all of those in here and print yourself off different stuff that way. There's also a few other bits and pieces here around hack. I mean, I won't go into all of them. You can see in music there. I won't go into it, but that's how I found out that there was details and detail around an A-Team game that never got released on the Master System, because there are actually dumps of the music that you can go and find out a little bit about. So in here is the development area, and SMS Power is huge on hacks and developments on the Master System. It's definitely the best website to check out stuff like that, and we'll come into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. But this is where you can find out stuff around developments on the system itself, and there's also a page next to it on the hacks. So you can click on like Game Gear to Master System hacks if you want to play Game Gear games on your Master System, and it's got them all listed here. I definitely recommend that you give them a try, because a lot of the games, if you just try to put Game Gear ROMs on an EverDrive, a lot of them won't work. So these have been a lot of them have actually been what's the word, like developed in a way that you can use them on the Master System, and they will work on the two buttons that the Master System pad has. Some of them, because the Game Gear had the start button, of course, you know, you've got to probably read the README file just to know what you need to press. But there are, as you can see, there's absolutely tons of them down here, and you've got, you know, I gave Aleste, the Game Gear version, a go the other day, and it's absolutely phenomenal. That's quite a new one that they've just finished up developing, and they're doing like fixes and stuff for them all the time. So definitely recommend that you get, and you've got game modifications here as well, which is pretty cool, and you can go in and see who's done what and where and how stuff, you know, there's a lot of Alex Kidd ones. Some are better than others. I really like, as I mentioned on the previous forum, the one that Ian did, I really like. I've not played tons of them, but like I say, there are other ones down here that you can give a try out to, absolutely. So do go and give some of these ROM hacks a go, as and when you get the chance. It's quite hard to come by the physical editions a lot these days. So you know, there's a lot of the French guys sort of make them, which is pretty cool. But if you're just interested in on loading your EverDrive up with some pretty cool games, then I definitely recommend you know, this part of the website. You know, it's pretty cool. Okay, so moving on to the forum. If you go into the forum here, and I won't log in, but you can see here, you've got the main part of the forum here, which is where the main sort of chat happens, and you've got people that comment on stuff. I don't know if people will be familiar with Dave, but Dave, who runs Xylogamoto, this is his YouTube channel, and he posts in there when he does a video. There's another Sega Den. I can't pronounce it, but he's another YouTube channel, quite a lot bigger, but he's covering some Master System stuff at the moment, which is pretty cool. And there's some other bits and pieces in there around just interesting stuff. There's something in there about newspaper clippings, and you can go back and search as far as you like. It's been going on for years, this forum. So there's some really interesting old stuff in there that I've found quite useful. If I come back out, again, there's a little thing in there around music that I don't go into too often, but I do go in this development section quite a bit. And this is where you see details around ROM hacks, details around the dev kits that these developers use. And they also run the coding competition every year from here. And this is where in a few weeks you'll be able to go in and vote on the 2023 competition, and ultimately who wins. There's some stuff in here. So if we go in the Maze 3D, this is the Wolfenstein stuff that's been happening over the last few months, and this is the chap as he was starting off. It's quite interesting, starting off doing very early development, and it's like a little story that, you know, you scroll down and you can see that this is where he's done a little bit extra in it. And if you keep going, basically you can then see, and I think he does also post the ROMs in there. So you can then click on page 3, which is the most recent page, and there's stuff in there about what he's done with the latest, might be at the back end of page 2, stuff that he's done with the latest version, basically. And you can see, you know, it's looking much more polished by page 2. The game's still not finished, but you can still see there, in that little bit there, that he's clearly done quite a bit more. And he's talking around, you know, stuff. And it's interesting because he's also done like an SG-1000 port as well. So, yeah, just really interesting. And there's loads of other games. There's stuff around the Castlevania thing that's going on right now. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles port that's happening at the moment. So there's all sorts of cool stuff going on in here. Definitely recommend that you go and check it out. And like I say, in a few weeks, you'll be able to vote when people start putting entries into this year's coding competition. Now, back to the main forum page. And they also have a news. This is the competition stuff as well, sorry. That's where news about the competition, where a lot of the devs sort of hang out and stuff. So I'll just click in that quick, and you can see here that they've got details of the competition and who's posting what and whatnot. And the competition goes back years, as you can see there. So definitely check those threads out. Now, there is also a trading thread here, which is what I use. Again, you can see I've put something in about manuals, because I'm trying to bump up a lot of my collection now with the manuals. So if you're after certain games, or if you've got stuff to trade to other collectors, this is just super useful, and I use it quite a bit. So yeah, I definitely recommend that you check this out as well. There's some other bits, and there is also a Japanese thing. I don't think the Japanese thread gets used very much anymore, which is really unfortunate, actually. But you can go back and check out, and I use Google Translate quite a bit to check out some of the posts there, because I am really interested in Sega Mark III and the SG-1000 as well. So yeah, lastly, guys, here is the last sort of website that I use. It's not, I don't use it quite as much as the other two, but it is super helpful, and I'll show you for why. So you can go into the SegaRetro.org website here. I've already got it open here, and you can, I mean, there's various different bits that you can click on and check out. I haven't checked all of them out. The main parts I use, which I'll show you just quick. So if you click on Sega Master System along the top here, and then it tells you a lot about the system, and it's a bit like a wiki guide, which I find quite helpful. But the bit I use the most on this website, if you go into games just there, and then you go into, and again, I really find it very useful to go into the year, so you can click into games that were made for that year. But there's all sorts of different, you can go all the way down here to check out all of the games and stuff, and then you just click next page to go into the next page of them, because there's blooming loads on Master System, of course. But you can get a list of the games here, of course, of what came out where and when and all that sort of stuff. But as a really useful guide, you can get some details there of what came out when and where and blah blah blah. It's also got the yen, I think it was, that they use in Japan, of what cost what and where. But if you click into one of these that I find really quite helpful, it's got a load of info and detail here in screenshots that I think's really cool. So I definitely recommend that you go and check that out. There is also, and I'll just go back a little bit. If you click into Sega Games here, and if you click into year up here, as an example, I don't know, let's click into Satellite 7. It's a game that isn't known that well, because although it was a Master System game, it only came out in Japan. But you can actually see here what the cover looks like and what the card looks like. So when I'm on online looking at like image only Google searches, and I see something and I think, what the bloody hell is that game? I can actually see what it is and find out and read a little bit about it here. which I think is just really useful and very, very cool. If you go in another, which I don't know, let's go into, I don't know, go 1998. Now, not many were being made by then, but if you go into Legend of Illusion, that's a Brazilian exclusive, and it tells you a little bit around that as well. There's no details on that one in terms of the box and whatnot, because it is quite rare. I don't know, let's try 96. So if we go to Mortal Kombat 3, and there's there's a few details on it, but there's no box art for that one either. I don't know, let's try 1990 and go into Fire and Forget. Then you've got PDFs here of stuff there. You've got the box art again and what the cart looks like, all that sort of stuff. It's missing the manual, so there's no scan of the manual by the look of it there. But in a lot of them, it does have them. And you can, if you don't have the manuals, it's really useful, particularly when you run community challenges and you don't have all of the manuals, as an example. You can go in and have a quick read of one. Anyway, guys, I hope you found the video useful. I will leave it there.